Good evening and welcome once again to another program of Issues in the News, where we discuss the important events that would have taken place in Guyana over the past week or so. And as the norm, we always have a packed agenda of issues worthy of discussion. Tonight is no different. I want to begin by welcoming our viewers who are joining us on television from region number 5, West Coast Berbice. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. To our viewers who are joining us on television in region 6, along the east bank of the Berbice River, New Amsterdam, Kanji, and all the way along the Quarantine Coast, welcome once again to another program of Issues in the News. To our listeners who are joining us on Facebook, on Freedom Radio rather, welcome to another program of Issues in the News. And last but not least, to all of you, the thousands of you who are joining us on Facebook Live across the length and breadth of Guyana, the Caribbean, North America, Europe, and further afield. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. And please share this program so that all of you and your friends and followers can join in tonight's discussion. Share this live program, press that share button on your phone, on your computer, on your iPad, or whatever device you are using to view this program. Share it, share it, share it, so that your friends and followers can join us in tonight's discussion. And also, please remember to use the comment section of your computer to interact, ask me questions, ask me to address any issues that you may wish, so that we can make this program interactive. I want to mention Shanti Dukram, Abdul Qayyum Haq, Rita Singh, Rodriguez, Maureen Rosario, Nazir Sultan, Beki Kumar, Pam Singh, Nkosi, Tolaram Mohan Chedi, Basil Siraj, and so many of you. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. Many persons are asking for an update on the Guyana Teachers Union matter. As I indicated when the decision was handed down, the government intends to appeal. The notice of appeal is being prepared and other attendant documents, and as soon as they are ready, they will be filed. I expect them to be filed by the end of this week. Certainly, the grounds of appeal will be filed before the end of this week. The government believes that our case remains very strong. The judge, certainly in my respectful view, fell into error, judicially overreached, and made orders that cannot be supported by the laws of our country. And the decision, as expected, has created some stir, not only in Guyana, but across the Caribbean. And the people have been calling and inquiring what is going on. So a lot of people, not only in Guyana, are following this decision. And someone sent me a case decided by the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom just 2 days before the judge decided this case. So the judge ruled on the 19th of April, and on the 17th of April, 2 days before, a court, the highest court in the United Kingdom, dealt with a somewhat similar matter. In that court, the court had to, in that case, the UK Supreme Court had to interpret the relevant legislation in the United Kingdom, as well as the court had to interpret the the European Union Convention. The European Union Convention is similarly worded like Guyana's Article 147 of the Constitution. The European Union Convention is a written instrument like the Guyana Constitution, and it has a section that deals with freedom of assembly, freedom of association, freedom to join unions, collective bargaining, etc. And that section is section 11 of the European Union Convention. And just hear what the case says, decided by the United Kingdom Supreme Court, the highest court. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 law lords sat and they delivered this judgment. I will just read one part of it to you. It is common ground that Article 11, that's the equivalent of Article 147 in the Guyana Constitution. It is common ground that Article 11 and indeed the ILO Convention does not prevent an employer from withholding pay from a striking worker. Let me read that slowly. It is common ground that Article 11 of the Convention, the European Union Convention, and indeed the ILO Convention, the International Labour Organization Convention, does not prevent an employer from withholding pay from a striking worker. That is unsurprising. The judges are saying that is not surprising, that is unsurprising. I continue. At common law there is and can be no entitlement to pay where the worker performs no work, full stop. This is not a question of justifiable detrimental treatment as the Secretary of State submitted. Employers are recognized at common law. Employers are recognized at common law and by the ILO as being within their rights to deduct pay from striking workers simply because there is no right to pay in circumstances where a worker is acting in breach of contract by withdrawing labor in this way. Such deductions are not sanctions. They are not punishment. That's a right of the employer. Now, this is not yours truly saying so. 5 law lords pronounced this way, sitting in the UK Supreme Court, 2 days before our Honorable Justice Andil Kisoon pronounced the way that he pronounced. I will leave that with you. Journalists can go and they can research the case and they will get that quotation. It is at paragraph 61 of the judgment. So here the judges here, 5 law lords, they are not even entertaining any argument. about no work, no pay principle. They say that is settled. It's unaffected by the European Convention on Human Rights, which, as I said, is similarly worded to the Guyana Constitution. And it is unaffected by ILO conventions, the International Labour Organization Convention. Unaffected by it. But according to our court, our constitution permits it. Our constitution apparently provides, according to our court, that employers cannot take away salaries from striking workers. And here it is, 2 days before the UK Supreme Court. Now, they don't have a written constitution, I know, but they have the European Union Convention, which is almost identical in language to the Guyana Constitution in relation to the right to assemble and associate and to form a union and be part of a union. Almost identical. And that is the ruling. So, we are on our way to the appeal court. So, President Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, while in New York, decided, as he has a right to do, and based upon invitations received, decided to walk Brooklyn, New York. And he did. And he was warmly received and welcomed and embraced by hundreds of persons living in that community. He visited many businesses who welcomed him with open arms. He sat and socialized with hundreds of residents of Brooklyn, Guyanese residents of Brooklyn, 99% of whom are Afro-Guyanese. He visited, as I said, many businesses, and he was welcomed warmly throughout his sojourn in Brooklyn. And as you would expect, the race mongers, the haters, the strife makers, the ethnic mischief makers were shocked, first of all, at the reception that the people extended to President Ali. And they have begun an attack campaign and a campaign of hate and ridicule against those citizens of Brooklyn and the owners of those businesses who welcomed and embraced the president with warmth, love, and affection. The haters couldn't accept that. It hurt them. And they have launched a vicious, racist campaign. And it's a comedy to listen to them as they rant and they fume. But you know what is unfortunate? Their attack on the ordinary people simply because those people chose to exercise their rights and their freedoms, to embrace a politician of their choice. These racist irritants that are using the airwaves to spew their hatred. They do so on the platform of rights and freedoms. They do so on the platform that they're championing democratic principles. One organization named Institute for Democracy. But these poisoned minds can't process how an Indo-Guyanese president, a PPP president, how dare he walk among black people. And worse yet, how dare those black people come out and welcome him and embrace him. The racist mind is contorting and exploding with anger, envy, jealousy, and hate. And that is what will poison them even further and quicker. If President Ali didn't go to Brooklyn, but chose to walk Liberty Avenue and Richmond Hill, you would have heard them say that he's racist, that he's not walking Brooklyn, that he chose to ignore the people of Brooklyn. President Ali walked Brooklyn, hugged the people of Brooklyn, embraced the people of Brooklyn, and they reciprocated with love, and they reciprocated with affection. And that is hitting the racists masquerading as talk show hosts, hitting them heavy. They're calling for boycott of the people's business, these racists. And they would tell you that they are Democrats and they respect freedom and they respect the rights of the Guyanese people. Those very people that they want to enslave their minds and they want to keep them entrapped in their own vicious cycle of racism. You will hear them, I heard one of them calling the people Nima Karam, another one calling them house slaves. Well, let me tell you, they have a lot more of that to see. That is the president's first visit, possibly, I'm not sure. But many of us will come into Brooklyn, and we don't need your permission. We don't need your support. The few of you who are ranting and raving. And I ask the people of Brooklyn, don't be ensnared in the vicious racial cycle of these sociopaths. What do they do for you? What have they done for you? What have they done for you? Name a single thing that one of them have done for you. Nothing. They're just using you to ride your backs as they execute some sick and sadistic racist agenda. And you know, they're a pack of cowards. Not one of them would come out. They would run in their basements and go on the air. They would not come out on the street. Where were they? The president spent hours, 5 hours in Brooklyn. You're telling me none of them couldn't come out and voice? No, they had to hide in a herd because they are cowards. Anyway, many more such visits will take place. And the poison will contaminate them. The poison, the very poison that they are producing will eventually contaminate them and poison them. They will die from internal poisoning. You know, you persons can die from blood poisoning, from intravenous poisoning. Well, that is what will happen. They thrive on this racism. So when the racism dissipates, they have no reason. Their existence is threatened. So you hear them like hyenas in heat, bawling on the television and on the Facebook, cussing down all the business owners. Ignore them. They have no place in modern society, either in Guyana or any part of the world, because modern civilization and modern societies eschew racism, division, and segregation. They are from an era that no longer exists. And that is why their numbers are diminishing. Their numbers are diminishing. Don't give them relevance. They have none. So I just thought that I will do that. And let me go to the Facebook, your comments. Let me hear what you have to say about the president's visit and the behavior of the fringed lunatics, the fringe elements. Simona Brooms saying that she will boycott the lady business in Brooklyn. Anybody wants Simona Brooms' business? I don't know who wants Simona Brooms' business. So if Simona Broom boycott anybody's business, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. She will boycott people's business, I tell you. Yes, so I'm looking at your comments. And you know, many of you here are from Queens. And you know when the president, or any one of us, when we go to Queens, they cuss us in Brooklyn. And they say we don't go to Brooklyn. I went to Brooklyn one Saturday afternoon. I ate a German restaurant. And I went into the heart of Church Avenue, where I saw a big crowd of Guyanese lining up to buy black pudding, and I lined up to buy black pudding too. And the people were warm, they were engaging, not a single bad word or a single animosity shown to me by any of those persons. When I left, the haters went on the TV. And they said I went into Brooklyn quietly, and I don't have to tell them that I'm going into Brooklyn. I walk the streets of Guyana, every village, at my whim and at my fancy, at my will. And I have none of the villages that I go to, Indo-Guyanese, Afro-Guyanese, Amerindians, I've never been ill-treated in any part of Guyana. And that is my thinking when I walk through Brooklyn. And that obviously was what inspired the president. And I'm happy that he did. And I'll encourage him to do it again. And perhaps I will be there the next time. Then as I'm on this race thing, you know, they continue to speak about racism in Guyana. I heard one of them speak about Afro-Guyanese being thrown off their lands at Mocha. And these guys are, I don't know what is wrong with them, if it is that they don't know that Guyanese know the facts. They say that those people were thrown off their lands at Mocha because they are Afro-Guyanese. 7 squatters, you hear me? 7 squatters are blocking an entire highway from being constructed. They have no right to be there. There were about 3 dozens of them. The others moved. The government gave them title land. The government moved them. The government gave them compensation to move them. And the government gave them title land free. Free. And moved them and paid them compensation to move. And they move. 7 decided that they will block the highway. Now this highway is a highway along the east bank of the Demerara. It's a highway that will connect the bridge, the new Demerara Harbor Bridge, to the east bank. It's a highway, therefore, that brings people from East Bank to Georgetown, from West Coast and West Bank to Georgetown. It's a highway that will connect to the east coast of Demerara through Ogle. So the whole of the east coast of Demerara are linked to the highway. The highway also links an entry or an artery into Georgetown. So this highway connects the whole country, at least Region 4. Tens of thousands of Guyanese are going to be affected if this highway is not built. Not tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Guyanese. Hundreds of thousands of Afro-Guyanese will benefit from this highway. These racist, demented people are accusing the government of racism because we decided to move the 7 persons. So 100,000 or 200,000 Guyanese, including about 100,000 Afro-Guyanese, must suffer to allow these 7 squatters to stay on their lands. That is the mentality of these people who are poisoned with hate. They can't reason. The racism is affecting their brain, so they can't think properly. The government is compensating hundreds of Guyanese right now, including dozens of Afro-Guyanese, as we are relocating them to pave way for the construction of the Demerara Harbor Bridge. I am directly involved in that. 48 persons, we have bought out their properties, give them land, give them houses, pay them compensation so that the bridge can be constructed. Over 48 persons. They include Afro-Guyanese, they include Indo-Guyanese, and a couple Chinese, Guyanese. We didn't have to break no house. Everybody cooperated. And these are people who own the land by transport. They own the properties. These are not squatters like the 7 at Mocha. And they are cooperating with the Guyanese. They are cooperating with the government. 48 of them. And then where the pipeline is being run from Crane Seawall all the way to Wales Estate. So from Crane Seawall, we are running the pipeline all the way to the back of Wales Estate. We have over about 200 private properties we have to acquire, and we are acquiring it right through. All in the canal, number 1, number 2, Lagrange, Viva la Force, Wales, Bagatstang, a whole host, a whole line of villages. Everyone cooperating because they understand the nature of and importance of the project. And all these persons have transport. And they are sitting down and negotiating with the government and accepting their compensation. Government is giving land in certain cases, land and money in certain cases, money in certain cases. And we are talking about over 200 persons, and they're all cooperating. As I said, Afro-Guyanese, Indo-Guyanese, from all walks of life. And we have no problem. But we must respect, we must allow 7 squatters in Mocha, because they are Afro-Guyanese, we must allow them to block a major highway. These people are insane. Are these sensible people? When we dug the Hope Canal, that draining Region 4, and keeping the land dry to the benefit of hundreds of thousands of people, again we had to take private lands from the seawall all the way to the Conservancy. You had people at Hope, at Clombrook, Beehive, Dutch Fore, Ansgrove, way down to the Conservancy. We took lands from hundreds of people to build that canal. We paid all of them compensation. None of them resisted. Dozens and dozens of Afro-Guyanese live in those communities. You heard the name that I call. When we built the Berbice Bridge at the Edward Village, where the bridge is on the west bank of the Berbice River, it's at the Edward Village. We moved dozens and dozens of Indo-Guyanese from their lawfully held and owned lands, and we paid them compensation. We didn't have any problems. When we just got into government, dozens of Indo-Guyanese were squatting at Success over the railway embankment. A few Afro-Guyanese, but dozens of Indo-Guyanese were squatting unlawfully on lands that we want to use to build a housing scheme to distribute to the people of Guyana. And what did we do? We removed those squatters. Gaisuku flooded the land so that they have to remove. They were Indo-Guyanese. They were Indo-Guyanese, and we flooded them because squatting is wrong. It's a criminal act. And we are not going to allow 20 and 30 persons to squat and deny 200 people house lots. That is how you govern a country. They want us to stop building a highway to accommodate 7 squatters because they're Afro-Guyanese. Whichever color they were, whichever race they are, they would have had to have been moved, as we have done in so many projects that I have outlined for you just now. And we have no apologies for doing the things that we are doing as a government, because we have to do it for the public good. and for the benefit of all Guyanese. So the racists, you can continue to spew those racism. I don't know who listening to you and who you're able to influence. Because if you're able to influence anybody, then they are in the same category with you. They are in the same category with you. I will deal with I see they keep also talking about the oil blocks that have been issued and who have been issued with the oil blocks. The next program, I'll get that information. I have it, but I don't have it with me. The next program, I will deal with that frontally, and I'll call the names of the persons, and you will see how many Indo-Guyanese got oil blocks, how many Afro-Guyanese got oil blocks, and how many international companies got oil blocks. I will deal with all of that next week. So my attention was drawn to the Kaichor news again. And we're not going to leave these things, because when you leave them and they fester, people believe them if you don't answer them after a while. So the big headline is oil spill. The big headline here is oil spill protection in 6th project spells doom. Doomsday for Guyana, says Ramjatan. Ramjatan is saying that the oil spill protection in the 6th project spells doomsday for Guyana. These guys don't read anything. They don't read the law. They don't read the PSA agreement. They don't read the environmental permit. But Nandlall gives them a photograph on the front page, and that's all that they're interested in. Anything they say. And they can talk. I don't know, these guys don't have any pride. They don't have any dignity. They don't care what they say. It would appear as though any publicity is good publicity. So any foolish mumbo-jumbo that comes to them, they just say it and they make a front page. Anybody who wants to make a front page, you go down to Kaichor News and you spew any nonsense about the oil and gas industry. Once it's negative, you get a front page. So this is what it says. They are saying that the whiptail permit makes it clear that there is going to be a limit to the financial guarantee. And they quote the whiptail permit. It says, whiptail permit makes it clear that the insurance and financial assurance provided by Exxon shall be guided, I quote, this is from the permit now, shall be guided by an estimate of the sum of the reasonable, credible cost, expenses and liabilities that may arise from the breach of the act and this permit. They, unquote, they continue. This means that the assurance will not be unlimited, but will be capped at a particular sum. We already dealt with the fact that no assurance can be unlimited. Listen to the language. The sum of the assurance or the insurance shall be guided by an estimate, this is from the permit itself, shall be guided by an estimate of the sum of reasonably credible costs, expenses and liabilities that may arise from any breach. So, tell me what is wrong with that? Must it not be based upon some reasonable estimate of credible costs? You want it to be based on what? I don't understand what is wrong with these people. This language that is in the permit, whiptail permit, it was first in yellowtail. No, it was in Payara. It was in yellowtail. It was in Arau. And it is now in whiptail. But these guys don't read anything and now discover it. And it's eureka. They don't read anything. Vincent Adams apparently was speaking about it. I don't know what kind of environmental person this person is. This formulation of language, first of all, was taken from an oil and gas directive published in the United Kingdom, giving general guidelines for the oil and gas industry. And it was recommended by our overseas lawyers to capture the requirements of the Act. And I'll deal with the Act just now. And here you have Vincent Adams believes that the inclusion of this clause is part of the grand scheme by the government to overturn the ruling by the High Court for unlimited parent guarantee. And this guy is educated. Can he point to any place in the world where there is unlimited guarantee? You know, up to now, they're writing about this a year now, and not one of them can point to an example of an unlimited guarantee. None of them. Because it doesn't exist, as I have said repeatedly. I can point, as I have done, to 50 countries where you have guarantees and it is limited to a sum. I can point to 50 countries. Several states in the United States have it in their laws and in their environmental regulations. And listen to the other one, Comrade Ramjatan, who reads nothing. He reads nothing about law in particular, and he's a lawyer. Here he says, it would be doomsday. The lawyer explained, when you put in that citizens have the right to seek compensation, citizens will have to come up against a powerful company when they are seeking compensation. But if the government will take actions if the public good is damaged. But if a citizen, his individual property is damaged, he will have to take actions. I don't understand who Ramjatan expect to take actions. If something is affecting you and your private land, who you want to take actions? You don't want the citizens to take actions? And this guy is a lawyer. He has a problem with the citizens having a right to sue Exxon. And let me go back to the Act. Operator, could you please put section 30 of the Environment. So let me please read it. I asked my operator to put this thing up. Section 30 of the Environmental Protection Act that requires this financial assurance. Let me go through the language and you will read it for yourself on the screen. Operator, you ready? Put it up for me. Tell me when it's up. It's up? They can see it? So look at financial assurances means, and that's what they call, that's it, financial assurance, right? That's the unlimited guarantee thing that they're talking about. Financial assurance means, and read with me, one or more of A, cash in the amount specified in the environmental authorization. So you can do it in cash in the amount specified. You read that word or those words? In the amount specified. So how it can be unlimited? First of all, if it allows cash, how can cash ever be unlimited? And it tells you in the amount specified. Then it says it can be a letter of credit from a bank in the amount, again the word amount, and terms specified in the environmental authorization. And then it goes on again, a guarantee in the form, terms, and amount specified in the environmental authorization. And a performance bond in the form and terms specified in the environmental authorization. You see all these terms and amount specified? In the face of those express language of the law, this is the law, this is the Environmental Act. This is the law that requires the financial assurance. How can it be unlimited? I mean, if people can't read, then they can't be talking about these things. The law, I've quoted 4 times where the law speaks that this thing must be, the terms must be specified, the amount specified. And you got these guys, whole day, they're talking about unlimited guarantee. And the environmental permit now puts in, properly so, and all, not now, all have it. But they now discover it. So it's doomsday for Ramjatan. And doomsday for Vincent Adams. They don't read anything. They don't read anything. And when you try to explain to them, they tell you that you're in bed with Exxon. They tell you that you're in bed with Exxon. From it, you will hear tomorrow. You will see tomorrow article in the newspapers or the following day that I am in bed with Exxon because I'm trying to explain to you what the law says and how ignorant they are and how they are misinterpreting the law. Ramjatan has nothing to say. He didn't know anything about the contract when it was being negotiated. Vincent Adams, he never had no financial guarantee anywhere. He never had a financial guarantee in place. Now we are putting it in place. But he's lecturing us now. He didn't have real-time monitoring of the activities out there. We have that. He didn't have any fee for flaring. We now have that. And this guy lecturing as some environmental expert. And he's a politician, and he wants to be treated as a technocrat. He's annoyed because he's removed. And he is a political leader of the AFC. He was on the candidate list. And Starbrook News keep describing him as he may be an expert in the field. I have no difficulty with that. Well, I don't know. He's not a good expert if he can't understand that environmental liability can be limitless. I don't know what kind of expert he is. But he seems to have a doctorate. But that doesn't mean that he's not a politician. I am a lawyer, but I am also a politician. If we lose the election, you think I will ever think that I will have to remain as Attorney General? Am I that stupid? Well, if you are that stupid, you're not no expert. Because if you're a politician, you are campaigning, you are on the list of candidates, and when time come to move, you now claim that you're an expert? No, my friend, you're a politician. And politicians go after their political party loses the elections. That's part of democracy, my friend. That's part of democracy. I remember Joe Harmon. Remember Joe Harmon when he received his dismissal letter? He wanted to stay on. When I remember these things, I wrote a letter terminating Joe Harmon's contract. And Joe Harmon issued a statement and says that he's wrongfully dismissed. That he has a contract and he expects to stay in the office of the president. You know, people, you might forget what I'm saying. That, and you hearing me now, you would think that I'm making these things up. I wish if I was that talented. Check the public record and you will see that Harmon objected. This guy was head of Minister of State. And then when he had to resign because of his American citizenship, he held some powerful position within the office of the president. And when they lost the elections, his view publicly expressed is that he expects to serve out the term of his contract, and that he was wrongfully terminated without a hearing. I am not making these things up. Go back and check it for yourself. So I am looking. People are still asking about the AG, about the union case. The appeal has not yet been filed, but the appeal is being prepared. We have not, let me make it public and clear, that we have not received the judgment from the court as yet. The judge said that he will deliver the judgment to us as soon as, well, shortly after the day in court. He read for 4.5 hours. We are still waiting for the written judgment. I don't want to be precipitous. I have to be careful. I have to read the judgment and then file the appeal. I have not received the judgment. We are still awaiting a copy of the judgment. Somebody said that you will be shadow attorney general. I am not shadow anything. And nobody's shadowing me. I don't even know where I... Check the definition for what shadow means. I have to be there to cast the shadow. Because I am the real thing. I am the object. So when they say there is a shadow attorney general, if I am not there, there is no shadow. So I don't know how they can have a shadow attorney general. If I am not in the parliament, they can't have a shadow attorney general because there's nobody. My shadow is not there. My object is not there to reflect a shadow. All of these things they are making up as though these are real things, you know. I mean, in the British system, there is a tradition and there is a, you know, you are assigned responsibility. And they loosely call it shadow. You are shadowing this minister. In Guyana, these people take it and make it a title. They have it on their call cards. They sign their names. I saw Amanza Desir sign her name, and below it has Member of Parliament and Shadow Minister. Shadow Minister of Foreign Affairs. These people think that this is a real thing. It's an actual title that they can put on a letterhead and put below their names. That's the level, that's the mentality that you're dealing with here. And that is why the same thing applies to Ramjatan. I am betting my bottom dollar that Ramjatan has never read the Environmental Protection Act, the relevant sections, but he would talk about it every day. And he would get Kaichur News to publish a front page because they want to hear what he says is what they want to say in the news. So they call him and he answers the phone and he tells them anything. He doesn't pick up the law book and read it. And they publish it as big news. What they're speaking about has been in the licenses and in the environmental permit since 2021. Since 2021, since Payara. But like Christopher Columbus, they discovered this yesterday in Whiptail. So they make big news. As I said, this is the language that we got from the experts. Unlike them, we hire experts to advise us on the oil and gas industry. They had Raphael Trotman. That was their expert. I mean, I am not disrespecting Trotman, but let me don't say anything. Let me don't say anything. Now, I have, without even dealing with my agenda, I have a whole set of issues here left to deal with. But we end up talking about a whole set of other issues. And I have come to the end of the program inadvertently. So I want to thank you very much for spending the past hour with me. I think, notwithstanding the fact that I didn't get to deal with my agenda, we have covered a number of important issues. And I want to thank you very much and wish you a safe and great week, but more importantly, an enjoyable rest of the evening. Thank you, and I'll see you next week when we continue and or resume.